everybody. I'm Teresa Lear Levine. I am an EFT master practitioner and hypnotherapist, and I'm super excited to be here chatting with both Dr. Anna Maria. I'm sorry, I got your name wrong. I'm going to start again. Do you want me to like hand it off? I'm a little unclear on what we're doing. Sorry.
Yeah, let me stop. Hey friends, I'm so glad you're here. We are doing a trifecta podcast, meaning we have 3 professionals on this podcast, and we're going to be sharing it through all of our platforms. And we are talking about all things personal care today, helping your immune system, alternative ways to take care of yourself. And yeah, what are people asking us? So we're going to go through and we're all going to introduce ourselves, and we are happy you are here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Lear Levine. I'm an EFT master practitioner, hypnotherapist, and coach. And I absolutely love helping people to get out of their own way. And self-care is a big part of that.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Dr. Janine Krause. I'm a naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and host of the Health Fix podcast. And my jam is definitely helping folks out at, any age, but really just living life well and enjoying it. So happy to be here. Thanks for having us back on, Anna Marie.
Yes. Well, you guys, I'm Dr. Anna Marie, and I am all things holistic health, brain health, and yeah, living your best life as well, shifting the way you think and speak about your life. And yeah, I'm just so excited to chat with you two because we're going to give so many wonderful tips, and I learn from both of you every time I talk to you. So
Same.
yes, so let's jump in. So before we hit record, we were talking about self-care. I volunteer. I've been lacking self-care. Dr. Janine, you said you've been lacking self-care. Teresa, you're like, I can always do better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Janine, what's going on with you, girl? And how are you going to shift out of this energy?
Oh man, since right after Christmas, man, I had a date with my dad who's 88 and my neighbor who's 82. Went out with the 2 old guys and got sick. How does that happen? I don't
You're
know.
partying too hard.
I know, man. You got to watch out for these guys. So yeah, I got sick and here we are 3 weeks later. I'm still kind of froggy and tried a lot of my tricks and definitely, avoided the antibiotics, avoided, you know, inhalers, going down the conventional medicine route, but still it's lingering. And also received a little bit of a bombshell of a lab diagnosis, as I'm going to call it, where my lupus antibodies went off the charts. And I'm like,
Wow.
something's up here. So I am not identifying with that diagnosis. It's a lab thing. And so it's basically a call out to me that, like, if my body starts to attack myself, then we got deeper issues. And so I want folks to know that, like, healthcare providers are human too, and we're not perfect, and we are all working on our stuff. So that's what I'm dealing with right now, just trying to get out of the weeds there.
Have you been seeing, because what you're describing, I've been seeing that more, like people coming in and they got sick, and it's not like they're kind of over their sickness, but there's a lingering factor for like 2-3 weeks. I have somebody who has been about a month.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
It's insane. Yeah, it's ongoing. And then I feel bad because I'm like, I don't look at me. I'm sorry. I'm dabbing my nose and like trying not to cough in visits.
Yeah. Why do you think this is going on like this?
So I truly believe that this is a big shift. We are headed into Aquarius, or we are in Aquarius, if we're going astrology on this, like, and I'm no astrology master, so you're going to get the Janine version of astrology here, but we got Aquarius, there's big shifts. And I've been called to be like, yo, you got to change your life, girl, because your soul does not like what you're up to. And really it boils down to being a glorified drug dealer. Just pushing pills. And I never thought as a naturopathic doctor, I would be this deep in the weeds with so many meds and managing so many meds with so many people. So it's a big call to like, yo, I don't like this. We got to switch it.
And using it like a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Teresa, this is kind of your jam, is like what emotionally and subconsciously is going on when we get sick and we stay in that sickness like the body is trying to tell us something, maybe that the subconscious is telling the body and we're not consciously aware. Could you explain and unpack that for us? What that could
I
possibly.
can do my best. I think it really depends on the circumstances. I think that some people just get sick, and it's a cold or a flu or a virus or a thing, and there's not a whole lot of connection there. And then I think there's other sicknesses, diseases, things like that, where it has manifested from a much earlier time because of things that we haven't yet dealt with. So I can see how like Janine's internalizing this and seeing the mirror and all of this. And like some of that I'm sure is true. I mean, the entire world is a mirror of ourselves. Like reality is a twisted thing, right? And also, I can see how Janine might just be sick for a little bit of time and she'll be fine soon. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a matter of how you want to look at it and how you want to dissect it. And if you want to get stuck in like the victimhood of being sick, or if you want to try a more empowering approach to feeling better, since obviously whatever we focus on, we create more of. So when we start focusing on the sickness and that becomes the center of everything, then usually we don't feel better faster. We feel worse for longer. So I was talking to Ginny last week before, I don't remember when it was, and we were talking about like ways to visualize feeling better, which is something that I love helping people do through hypnotherapy, and like visualizing this kind of like healing vortex descending down into the body, because visualization is super strong. If we can actually visualize something happening, then it can. It's actually the first way that anything happens. Nothing exists outside of the mind. So when we can bring this idea of visualizing this, this kind of swirling vortex coming into our body, sweeping out all the crud, restoring the sinuses and the throat and everything else, then we do that by just kind of getting ourselves into a light meditative or trance state. We can actually improve our time it takes to feel better much faster. And you can do that with anything, not just
Yeah.
a cold or a virus or what have you.
Yeah. I love that because this has been proven in science that our thoughts change our biochemistry, and a single thought alone can change your biochemical makeup in 150 to 300 milliseconds.
Yes.
So that tells us our thoughts can make us well, our thoughts can make us sick, and our brain is the strongest pharmacy on planet Earth. So we can definitely improve our health and well-being by our thoughts. And I do believe, like, I guess for me, Teresa, I don't believe that like people just get sick. Like I always think that there's some type of meaning, there's some type of, and I love how you use the word mirror, because these are subtle. When we get like sick, that's when we start listening to the body. But I believe the body has been giving us cues prior to that. So, Dr. Janine, I am sure, girl, the last few months, you have probably been toying with some things where you don't feel aligned with maybe what's going on and you're wanting to like veer and finding that. I'm speaking for you. I'm just assuming that, but usually that's like what I see when I'm working with people.
Bro, you are 100% correct. I'm trying to get the logistics down and make it happen. And yeah, I think my body just got to the point where the electromagnetic field was like glitched, couldn't hold things, and was like, all right, we're just gonna make this happen by making you sick so that you get the point here. So I'm like, message received. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And Teresa's tip with the vortex, gave me the message. I did start to feel a lot better after that. Like things really did. I should have probably done it more though. I'm shitting on myself. There we go.
Don't do that. And I'll backstep and say I completely agree, Anna Marie. I believe that like you don't just get sick. I mean, I did say sometimes you just get sick. I said I think sometimes people just don't want to deal with what the causes are. And also sometimes the root causes are not these huge things that require like massive dissection and, introspection and things, but they'll usually come back as a bigger thing later and hit you over the head if you don't deal with them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't just get sick, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier to just work on feeling better and treating the symptoms because you will feel better than it is to go deeper. Not everybody's into the going deeper part.
Yeah, I agree. So what's interesting for me is I went back to my home state over the holidays. And everybody knows, I'm sure, that there are different triggers during the holidays with family members and different things, as much as we think that we have our stuff together. And I've been very aware of the triggers because when I find myself being triggered, now I'm asking, what have I not healed? And the whole time that I was on that trip, it was 11 days.
Wow.
Everyone around me got sick. Everybody around me got COVID. And I just had like this slow burning of like, at first I was like, I'm not getting sick. I'm healthy. And like, I was like on my mind because I was the one taking care of everyone. And then when I got back, I had some other things to deal with. And my body, and it always manifests in my hips. And my hips were like burning and my lower back was super tight, which is,
Mhm.
emotional support, financial support. And I'm making these big decisions. And then I had like 2 days where I just felt like under the weather. But I also realized like I wasn't, as much as I was mentally doing all the things, because I'm very strong mentally, I wasn't getting outside and going for my walks. I wasn't doing the extra supplements that I know I need to do because I was like, oh, I have to take care of everyone else. And so it's interesting how we like will go like one extreme to the other. And just because I'm taking care of other people doesn't mean I can't take care of myself. But we all get stuck in that. I don't know. It's so interesting. So I just get fascinated about it. It's not right or wrong. It's just how we wound up and how we're
And
showing.
those of us who know better tend to be the worst at being hard on ourselves when we don't do it. So, because it's like, oh, well, we're giving people this advice all the time to do the thing, and here we are not doing it. So we must be imposters or frauds or what have you. And we go down that whole rabbit hole.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But I love it how you said, like, we can always do better. And I think that just us going through these things is important because it helps us be able to better relate to the clients that show up in our world. Because how could we relate to somebody in what they're going through if we haven't been through something similar ourselves?
Oh yeah, I'm so careful these days, like the topics I pick for the workshops that I do or whatever else, because every single time the universe brings me the same issue I'm about to teach on in like some magnified way. And I'm like, like, am I ready for this? Or do I need a little more time to simmer? So yeah, like I just did a whole workshop on like subconscious synergy and elevating business and stuff. And went through all these shifts in my business and all of these like subconscious things that would get in my way. You know, like when you go to like up level in something and then all of a sudden like you're hit with fatigue or you're hit with all these different like barriers or like you're just distracted or going down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos or doom scrolling or whatever instead of actually like doing the things. And it's almost like you have no control over it. These like
Yeah.
subconscious things that get in the way. That was what was hitting me hard at the beginning. And I was like, oh yeah, it's because I'm doing a workshop on that exact topic. And I'm going to figure out some better ways to get through it.
Yes. And I think that we have to also, yeah, like that's like calling in that energy. So even the very things that we teach and the things we're getting through, and like Dr. Janine, you were saying earlier, like I'm dealing with all these people on all these meds and like working through this, and you're trying to get them well. Meanwhile, you're getting yourself well. It's interesting how the very things, like, yeah, they come and they show up in our field. And I actually just this morning we were rushing in my home, and on the way to drop one kid off at the orthodontist, then the other one off at school, and then getting to work to be here and be on this podcast, I went to drink my mushroom coffee and I spilt it on myself and I started laughing and I pulled the car over and I took a few deep breaths. Because if there is one thing that I have learned is that when you are doing rushed energy, stress energy, you will start attracting that,
Oh yeah.
like spilling the coffee on myself. And that was my moment to pull over. And I ended up putting it on my Instagram because I'm like, when I was in my early 20s, I could spill coffee on myself and be like, oh my God, I'm having the worst day. I spilled coffee on myself and this happened, then this happened, then this happened. It's like, okay, first of all, nobody cares. But it's like it amplifies and you keep attracting that energy. So I think we all have to take a pause and really reflect on what we're calling in, whether it's conscious or unconscious, because we're antennas and we'll put it out there and it'll come to us.
Yeah. And you can ruin a perfectly good day before it even has a chance to get started.
Yeah.
I was saying that to my 7-year-old this morning because it's winter mornings here. We've got snow and the house is heated. Like, it's perfectly warm in here. And every morning he's waking up, I'm so cold. I can't get out of bed. I can't, this is the worst day ever. All these like dramatics. And I'm just like, the day hasn't even started, dude. Like, it's a great day. It's just your thoughts about the day are not really that awesome right now. So maybe we can work on those and you'll see there's this beautiful day waiting for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So Dr. Janine, what is your plan to get over this hump? What are
Oh
you calling
man,
in?
I'm calling in some clarity to really make the hard decision on my business and how it's going to go down. That is what is happening, and being true to myself is as like I did not sign up for what's going on right now. This is not what my sole purpose is. I'm not meant. I mean, I don't mind helping with medications here and there, but I'm not here to basically manage medications for people that don't want to put in the effort to make change. And that's the medical model that I'm in Washington State because of insurance. And so that medical model's got to go because you can't do natural medicine or well medicine in a sick model. That's the bottom line. That's what's changing.
Yeah.
I'm getting out.
Sounds like you have the clarity. It's the action that needs to happen.
Yes, it needs the fire under my rear end to be to it's always one of those things where I want to be nice, right? I want to help everybody and I know that I can't. So,
Yeah. But when you're out of integrity, you can't help anybody.
got it, girl.
Yeah. That's a big decision and a big shift.
Yeah.
And
Some of those last year too. And yeah, I mean, you can feel like at any time, I think any of us can find certain areas where we are like either minutely or majorly out of integrity that need to be adjusted. But I think those are the things that always require like it's important to attend to those things because they will throw everything else off if they're not brought back
Yeah.
into alignment.
Yeah.
and your whole schooling and everything that you were taught for you to live a life and have income is that model.
Mhm.
And so it's like it's really fascinating. I think a lot of practitioners, doctors, nurses, I'm hearing more and more of this, and it's the system is rigged against people in holistic and natural health. It is just rigged against us. And then it's rigged against us in the sense that people have been brainwashed, and I'm going to say brainwashed,
Oh
to
yeah.
believe that if insurance doesn't pay for it, then they can't afford it or they can't do it, when they're going to pay for it either now or they're going to pay for it in the future. And yeah, I don't envy where you're at. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the beauty is, and this is the other new thing, is I started working with a friend here in Wisconsin and it's completely cash based. And I think that's the other thing where I'm seeing like the potential. And I think I couldn't see that before because I just jumped right out of school and went straight into the insurance realm 17 years ago, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Do you deal with that at all in your business, Anna Marie? Like, do you deal with insurance or anything like that?
No.
Or is everything cash based for you?
Yeah, so I'm not a medical naturopath. So I'm a traditional naturopath, master herbalist. So I have my PhD in natural health. So I don't diagnose, I don't prescribe. So I did not go to medical school. So everything I do is not breaking the skin as a traditional naturopath.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't even, I could take insurance, quote unquote. There's billing codes for like as a nutritionist, and but insurance doesn't end up paying it anyways. So there are like back before I did my more advanced education, because I did have my nutrition certification, I remember I was like, oh cool, I could bill insurance with this, as a nutritionist. Young and naive. It's like, no, you can't. They're not going to pay it. It's like even a registered dietitian. I think most insurance companies, if you already have a metabolic disease, they'll pay for one session or something like that. I mean, it's
Ridiculous.
it's crazy, but yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
want to. I wouldn't even.
I'd
want
love to see you
do
get
that.
out of that, Janine.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, it's education, right? And this is kind of what Anne Marie was saying. It's educating folks on the fact that insurance isn't really. It's great if you get in a car accident, you need emergency care,
Yes.
ER. All it's absolutely for that kind of thing where modern medicine shines, the emergency
Sure.
stuff. But for chronic stuff, looking at preventative, it's not helpful. I mean,
No.
we can only see people 15 minutes. They won't pay over that. And yeah, it's sick. It's sick medicine. And then the people who provide it get sicker too, because we're in a rat race trying to make ends meet, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was
It makes it a lot harder for those of us that have cash-based businesses to, make a living, because it seems like everything's super inflated comparatively.
Oh, it's so inflated. I was listening to a podcast the other day and there was a doctor on there and like nonchalantly, he was like, "Oh yeah, I see about 200 patients a week." And I'm like I'm hearing that. And I mean, you think about that. 200 patients a week. How do you listen? How do you gather the information and support the person in front of you? But it's so normalized that the doctor is spending like 5 minutes with each person. And then there's a prescription or there's a surgery scheduled or and I've been through this in my life with, before I got into the natural health where I would go to doctors and it would be because it's normalized. But I literally
40 people a day.
200 people a week. Sorry.
Right, that's 40 people a day.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like how in
I'm just trying to break it down. I'm like, can't even. I don't even want to serve that many people in a month. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, my max to do one-on-ones with people is 3 people. When I have a fourth on my schedule, because
per
my
day.
initials are per day. My initials,
I'm the same way. I don't like to do more than 3 one-on-ones in a day.
yeah. And then even the follow-ups are an hour, but that's a lot of like energy and like because you have to be available and be listening, and that takes a lot of energy. So yeah,
From a self-care
like,
perspective, that's what we're talking about protecting, which is good because we both have those boundaries up to not do more than that many appointments in a day, because I burn out quick if I do more than that.
100%. Oh my gosh. How about you, Janine?
Oh crap! You guys don't want to know that.
Oh, she's seeing 40 people a day. No.
17 to 20. I top out at 22. That's usually how it goes. And the honest to goodness truth is like I'm to the point now where I'm like, if I can do 10, I'd be good. But yeah, by the end of the day, I know all my people. That's one thing that I will say. Like I know all my people. I know their issues. But yeah, if I keep getting over that, and there was a point at which yes, I was pushing 30. I never could do 40, but I was pushing 30 before COVID when I could do 4 acupuncture sessions an hour. And I'm glad COVID happened so I could stop that train, because I probably wouldn't even be alive at this point, keeping that train going. But yeah, 17 to 20 a day is not uncommon.
That's crazy to me. It's just wild. But okay.
Like we all need to go sit in front of Dr. Mahari's biocharger.
Yes, let's talk about a biocharger, because I am probably the most like I do the podcast like Dr. Anna Marie said, because I learned so much from all the different technology things people have. And then I watch what you guys do, and then I'm like, what's that thing? I want to know that. So tell us about biochargers. I want to learn that.
Oh my gosh. Well, biocharger it's a frequency generator machine. You literally sit in front of this like big machine and we program it specifically and it emits biophoton therapy, voltage therapy, infrared therapy. So what the heck does that mean?
It's like a big Tesla coil, right?
Yeah, there's a big Tesla coil in the middle. So everything in our body vibrates at a very specific frequency. Frequencies can heal and frequencies can destroy. So in Western medicine, they'll really pay attention and acknowledge frequencies when it comes to kidney stones. They'll send a frequency to break up the kidney stones.
Cool.
So, but we don't really acknowledge that frequencies can heal and frequencies can destroy in terms of Western medicine. But you can also look up on YouTube and you can see viral particles, pathogens at a petri dish, and you can see the different frequencies that being sent and how it dissipates them. It can kill them. It's really interesting stuff. And I've been fortunate enough to interview biocharger company on the podcast as well. But so anyways, you sit in front of this machine and I always envision it as like plugging my body into the wall and charging up all my cells, the mitochondria, the battery in every cell that helps you blink your eyes, that helps you see, like all of these things. Because as we age, it naturally gets, our battery gets lower and lower and lower. So anyways, that's one of the technology pieces of equipment that we use here at Happy Whole You. And like anytime my girls, like my employees, if they're getting a sore throat or anything, they know. They go in there, they'll do clear head, they'll do immune support, and you program the different, we call them recipes for people. So there's very specific frequencies that are given off depending on what the client is going through.
Yeah. You talked about it when you came on my podcast before and how like you healed your knee with it and you were kind of skeptical and then it worked so
Oh,
well.
yeah.
And then I had the privilege of being down in Miami at a spa down there in December, and I was so excited to get to try it. I did a program for sleep that they had. It wasn't like individual recipes, but they had a particular program for better sleep, and it definitely helped. But I feel like I need more because I did notice like over the last week, and I have had some changes and some new and different stressors, but the sleep has not been as awesome as it was for like the 3-4 weeks before that after I had sat in front of the biocharger. So I think I need to find one more locally and do it more often. What's the frequency, no pun intended, that I should be doing that?
So we have some people that do it once a week. And then if you have something more acute, like that recently happened, I always say like 3 days in a row, just to like knock out whatever is going on. If somebody has something more chronic, they may be coming in like 2 or 3 times a week for very specific quote unquote diagnosis. We find frequencies that can match that. But then like just general good wellness, once a week.
Yeah.
Good.
I found it fascinating though, just like sitting in like a lounge chair right next to it. Like if I got my hand even kind of like in the field, like I could feel the energy.
Oh, you could hold a light bulb and
They did that whole like, yeah, it was like Star Wars. They like lit up a fluorescent tube light for me without it even touching anything or being plugged in. It was just like near the machine. So that was really fascinating. I was glad to have an expert like you to consult before I went, so I knew all the fun things I should do while I was there. While my mom and my sister were just getting like regular old massages and facials, I was like, I want the tech. Give me the tech.
Yeah.
Oh, so what spa is this? Just for folks that may be going to Miami. And then of course we gotta make sure we plug Anne Marie's.
Of course. Yeah, go see Anne Marie first. But we went to the Carillon spa in Miami. So
Okay.
they have it's pretty awesome. And they have like a whole like hydrotherapy circuit there too that was
Oh, cool.
included. And we were able to go visit that every day. And it was a nice place to stay. And they took good care of us at the spa.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think spa medicine is probably one of my jams. When I owned the spa back in the day, that was like my favorite time in life because it was kind of like that's what I wanted. And so I see what Dr. Anna Marie is doing, with all the folks coming in and hanging out and Sunday for the lady. Like I just that makes me so happy to see that. And I'm like, having your community be able to do that to get the wellness going for the crew, right?
So I love seeing that too whenever I see
Yeah,
stories and posts and things. I need more community going on here.
yeah, like community health, they back in the old days they had the like bathhouses and whatnot, and now people are like, oh, someone's sick, that's gross, we don't want to all be there. But I'm like, I would be thinking, and this is my thought process. I know it's not the conventional thought. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm sick, I'm gonna stay home. But it's more like, oh, maybe there are some things I can do in the feeling like I'm coming down on things phase or whatnot. And I'm gonna let Dr. Anne Marie kind of share kind of some of the stuff she's got there to deal with when you feel like you're getting sick, and then when you can't get rid of it, minus the mental stuff. We'll deal with that later.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean so Happy Whole You in Bakersfield, California, we get people that travel here and from all over to come, and they'll have a day, or they'll stay at, there's a hotel right downtown called the Padre Hotel, and they'll stay and they'll just come in, and we're very cost effective. So for a lot of people, they would travel here just to get the amount of therapies that they can get for a very like reasonable price. So we have like cold therapy, cold exposure therapy. So we do have a cold plunge and we have a cryotherapy. We also have two different types of saunas. So we have a barrel steam salt sauna. Then we have also our infrared medical grade sauna to boost immune. And everything we do here, we program for whatever the client needs support with. We also have spinal alignment bed. We have a bioharmonic bed. We have this thing called the theta chair that puts you in this theta state. We also have full body red light bed. We have a steam pod. We have a holistic skincare specialist here that'll do just a customized facial for you as well. We do have a masseuse on site, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
And yeah, we just have like so many fun Beamer therapy, which is a PEMF mat that is, I believe, above any other PEMF mat. We have this thing called the Sit and Pretty that literally tightens your pelvic floor. It's like doing 2,000 Kegel exercises. We do herbal soaks. So we'll like customize herbs and put them in a foot soak for you. And some people will sit in front of the biocharger and do the foot soak at the same time. Then we have like the negative ion foot soak. So pretty much I've created a business around all the things I love that were not in our community.
That's so cool.
Because
Genius.
yeah, these things are so amazing, and I've had to travel all over to experience these things. And so when I experience some of these things, I'm like, okay, how can we fit that in here, bring it here? And yeah, we have Sundays for the ladies. We've had people that have birthday parties here in the back. So they'll come and they'll do the outdoor sauna with the cold plunge and have, 3, 4 of their friends versus going out and drinking. So it's a really special space that people get a lot of healing from. And I see people all the way from 18-month-old to my oldest client is 90, people that just want general good health to people that are on multiple medications and don't know where to go, or people that have been told, you're fine, your blood work's fine, everything's fine. Like, you're good. And they're like, I am not good.
Not good.
And so then they come here and they're like, can we figure something out? So we look at foundations of health and where we can restore foundations and, help the body as a whole.
So important. And there's
Yeah.
not enough people doing that. I'm so glad that you are. And I feel like that's like a lot of what you do too, Janine. Like you really help people from the mainstream stuff, and allow people to heal in new and different ways.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, that's my jam is trying to figure out what's wrong, and when, especially when they've been told like you're fine, and they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm crazy, and I'm
Yeah.
just don't. I know I'm not fine, you know. And yeah, that's where all the different, I would say, all the different and quote weird to folks that aren't exposed to these kind of things, all the different weird treatments come in. But at the same time, I mean, I've seen such great turnaround with things like the Tesla coils and amp coils and different brand, there's all kinds of different stuff out there, and biophoton, and I mean, it's crazy to think that all of these little devices aren't mainstream.
Yeah.
Well, why?
Yeah. Well, and the technology, like one of the things I use is biofeedback, and I can do that in person, or I see a lot of people remotely too. And so biofeedback is essentially your biology giving feedback to a signal being sent to the body.
Right.
This technology, how do we know what the vital signs are with astronauts in outer space? How do we know that? It's called biofeedback. It's pulling from the quantum field, from frequency, and getting information back. And it's more specifically from somebody's body, And so when people are like, well, I don't understand, how does this work? It's like, how does your cell phone work? It's a very specific frequency signal. If I was going to call you, that gets omitted in the field, and boom, we're talking on the phone, just as we're talking on this podcast virtually. So I think because we have cell phones, it's it's almost easier for people to wrap their head around how this could be actually possibly something that's working. It's science, it is physics. And so I can do biofeedback through technology, but I could also do biofeedback through physically touching your body or through myself I get a physical response to asking something in the field about your body when you are in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And so like feel like, wait, what? Right. But it's crazy that this is available to us and using like Chinese medicine, right? Even just looking at somebody's face, the Chinese have mapped the face for over 5,000 years. There's certain markers on the face that can indicate personality tendencies that can lead to behavioral things going on. The tongue, if you stick your tongue out, there's certain markers on the tongue that can indicate well, one, you could see if there's candida or fungus. You could see if there's digestive challenges. If there's scalloping, there could be some, liver stuff going on. If the tip of your tongue is really, really red, we need to work on your vascular system, as well as like the fingernails. You can see lines in the fingernails, white dots in the fingernails. Like the body is intelligent and it's saying, hey, this is going on, but we're no longer trained how to look at the body and how to see what could possibly the body be telling us. And so that's where I think we're missing a whole lot of healing as well.
Absolutely. Do you do hair testing as part of your work?
I don't, but there's a gal in town that does it. I always say if I don't do it, I know somebody that does it.
I just wasn't sure with all the quantum field stuff you're talking about if you
Yeah.
elaborated that as well.
Yeah.
I got a lot of really helpful diagnoses from that for myself last year.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah, like heavy metals and stuff.
blood work and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure
Yeah.
out all the systems.
The biofeedback that like one of the programs I use with the technology, I'll get up to 120,000 frequencies in the body. And so we're looking at hormone response, we're looking at heavy metals, pathogens, like parasites, funguses, bacterias, vitamin nutrients. And so even when I use that technology, I also go back and I physically test the body. So I don't just rely on the technology part. It's probably why my sessions take so long because I'm like perfectionist and I call what I do is a triangular approach. If it shows up in 3 different areas of the different modalities that I use to get information from the body, like if your lungs keep coming up, it's like, okay, what interventions can we do to support your lungs? And there's acupressure points, there's herbs that we could do, some breathing exercises. And so kind of use that information to guide me.
Yeah. So when you guys feel like you're getting sick or something is coming on, do you have any like favorite like go-to products or things that you're like, oh, gotta do that? Because I know like for me, I love like the bioactive like silver hydrosol. Like I normally go for like that. I normally go for some zinc spray, like those kind of things. Are there any things like that that you're like we think of when you get sick that help?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I love the Kick-Ass Immune herb formula. It's one of my favorites. I'll grab that and start spraying that in the back of my throat. I'm usually all the times that I've gotten sick, and this is the one with my dad and neighbor, I didn't have my Cofix, my nasal spray with the iodine. I swear by that stuff. That's what I fly with. That's where like I go to work with. I go to the store. But I figured I was safe with 80-year-olds. I don't know what the heck my brain was thinking. I was just too comfortable.
Did the 80-year-olds get sick or did they stay
No.
healthy?
Well, so they weren't my dad was sick earlier and my neighbor was like, "Oh, I had a little cold." I'm like, and they're fine now. Totally fine. Totally fine. Just me. Just me really. And it's hilarious. But yeah, no, when I get sick, my first thing is I grab the Kick-Ass Immune spray and then propolis, Beekeeper Natural Propolis the Max. spray. I'm probably saying the whole thing wrong because I suck at the names of things. I
That's a good
spray the
thing.
daylights out of that up my nose, and then I'm usually getting some sort of like lymphatic or detox tea. And actually, Dr. Anne Marie, I hoarded some of her tea. The Skinny U tea is also a lymphatic drainage tea, and so I use that if I'm feeling sick. And so now I'm gonna have to get some more because I've worn it out and then started using the detox of it. And so those are like my go-tos. And then if I'm stuffy, I'm gonna use steam inhalation with essential oils. And I'm definitely gonna have my like vaporizers or diffusers. I get that word confused. I definitely got that with like my tea tree, eucalyptus, all that. That is like my go-to. And usually can knock it out in a day. But this one's a little different. A little different. I'm on fenbendazole right now because it's full moon, but also because I was like, is this some weird parasite thing? So I'm like, we're doing parasite cleanses now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like
Right.
to put a little para 3 or whatever in my water when I'm sick also, if I think that maybe it's that and not something else. Feels
Yeah.
like that kills a lot of stuff.
I love para 3, man. The clove in that is like I could drink that stuff, which is weird, but I really like that. And have you tried Cellcore para 3s?
No, I haven't.
You probably have something that you've made which is like that,
Similar.
is my
Yeah.
guess. Because
Yeah.
it's like walnut. I don't know. There's all kinds of good stuff
Oh,
in here.
yeah.
It's like part of like the full moon cleanse protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My newest formula is mastic gum, walnut, slippery elm, and marshmallow.
Oh.
Interesting.
And what do you call that one?
I call it bloatless you. So it helps the debloating of the gut. But okay. Insider information, people. The name that we put on our product is like it's advertising. But
Right.
Janine, you know, is like how good mastic gum is for the entire digestive system, H. pylori, bacterias, all of that, slippery elm. Again, these herbs are gonna like clean house and support the digestive tract. Um, but that I think between that one, I take that every day now, and my Bright U. When I start getting, because Bright U has all those herbs, but my go-tos are this stuff called Energy Bits. And all it is spirulina and chlorella. I like take those like crazy. And then I do the mushrooms, realmushrooms.com. I love that company. I've interviewed them a couple times on the podcast. But that's where we get the, changa, lion's mane, reishi, and it does not taste good, but I'll do a whole scoop of that in my coffee. And then
That's how you know it works.
yeah, I'm like, this tastes horrible. And I just like, I get it in. But yeah, the energy bits, the mushrooms, I up those and I'll up my Bright U. I'll take 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon to help my immune system as well. And then of course I get to play in my playhouse here. So I'm pretty fortunate in that sense.
Absolutely. These are all like great tips. I think if anybody's coming down with something, they have a few things they can try, like that are probably just really easy to do and might make a big difference. So I appreciate all the wisdom you guys shared.
I think the one thing we left out that is like so basic, which is probably why we left it out, is going outside and getting sunlight. I don't care if it's cloudy out, you need those rays. And putting your bare feet in the grass. But if it's snowing, you just put your hand on a tree and just do like 30, 40 deep breaths, because being outside and being in nature, I mean, go outside if it's snowing and just make your snow angel and just lay there. That's really important healing. I mean, we can all do the herbs and do all the fun things, but like that is a simple, basic thing that we need. And we need multiple exposures to sunlight throughout the day. So that's one easily I think we forget.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in my neck of the woods where we do have snow on the ground and ice and everything. And it's a little bit more challenging to spend more time outside this time of year. And I noticed that because I love being outside and taking walks and feeling grounded. And that's where yeah, everything feels so much better when you get outside. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know when we get off this call, I'm literally going to walk outside and the sun, how it comes up in the front of my building, I just stand out there and I'm like, oh, and I'll take my jacket off so it hits my arms too, because the more skin exposed, the better. And it's kind of cold, but
Absolutely.
not as cold as where you are.
I need to fly to California. It was -6 this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I like the idea of being outside, but I'm gonna have to bundle. But that's
That is cold.
California sounds amazing right now.
And before we wrap up, have you been affected at all where you are by the fires that are happening out there?
Yeah.
You know what? The fires are about
you're
2
in-
hours south, about 120 miles. I did go down south last weekend and I could see them from the 5. It's super devastating. And every single person in the world is going to be affected by these fires. A couple of reasons. Number one, California, I believe, is the 8th largest economy in the world. So when you have this much devastation going on, I mean, it's incredible. It's just like any other national and international disaster. I mean, it affects everything. The other thing is all the formaldehyde, all the heavy metals, all of the toxins from these fires. You think about it, people's homes, bleach, boom. Cleaning products, boom. Your couch with everything that's in that. So I think we're going to be paying for this for years to come in terms of it's all in our atmosphere and we are breathing all of this in. And so even when people think like, oh yeah, it's it's devastating for California, it's across the world when we have disasters like this that happen and these chemicals are put in our atmosphere, it's bad for all of us. But you know, it's it's horrible. I have clients that live down there and we've had to cancel sessions because they don't have a home. And so I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
No, it's devastating.
Yeah.
It's devastating. But I know it's got to be affecting you too, just being that in that proximity to it. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing about that.
Yeah.
Well, and before we wrap up too, I'd like to know what should folks do? What are you having folks do for improving their respiratory capabilities, but also to work on keeping the body filtering out the metals, the toxins, all that. Like, what's your go-to protocol so that folks have something to work with right now?
I think this is a great reminder that all of us should be having air filters throughout our house. We should all have plants in our homes and we should all open up. I mean, even though like they're definitely not the windows, but also the air in our home, it may sound weird, but you open up your windows for at least 10 minutes a day, wherever you live, because the air will keep recycling in the home. So there is, if you have your good air filters and to change your air filters, I find a lot of people are not changing their air filters every 3 months on a regular basis like they should be. Also, reminding people to breathe through their nose. This is very important. These are like basic things to breathe through the nose. Also movement, lymphatic release. So whether you have a shake board at your house or a little trampoline, getting the lymph system moving, juicing, staying hydrated, supporting that liver and gut. So those are the two, especially the liver right now because of all the toxins. And there's different herbs that can be used to do that as well. But, again, going back to the basics, but we all should be checking the air in our homes because it can be, you don't even realize when you have, like I had my cleaning ladies come actually last week and I have my own non-toxic homemade cleaning products. Yeah. So I guess I forgot to put them out. And I came home and I was like, the smell was like, oh my gosh. I opened all my windows and I was like, and I will get a headache like that with those chemicals. So, a lot of people don't realize you can make your own cleaning products a lot cheaper as well. So yeah, so those, I think it's just always getting back to the basics. But definitely some herb support and liver support. I like rosemary for the liver. I like the plant stem cell juniper for the liver as well. Those work really well.
Awesome suggestions.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks. We all need those, all the time, I think. But at this point, definitely with the air quality, it's a big deal. I'm shocked like how many people's homes do not circulate air well because I'll do like audits of homes and I'm like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
yikes. Crazy.
And I listened to a podcast. I forget. I don't know if you remember, Janine, but you interviewed someone on your podcast that talked about the air in your home.
Hmm.
It was such a good episode. That was a amazing episode. I can't remember the guy's name, but that was a really good one. So, do you remember who that was that you had?
I can't think of his first name, but Hypo Air is the company. They have the air filtration systems you can put into like countertop, but also into your
Yeah.
ductwork. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was so informative.
Oh my gosh. Can you share with everyone the name of your podcast so those that are listening on the other platforms, they can go check
Yeah, it's called the Health Fix Podcast. And yeah, you could get it anywhere you get your podcast. I'm gonna quick check because I can be able to pull it up really quick because I can tell you what episode that was.
Okay. The Health
Um,
Podcast.
the Health Fix Podcast. And so David Milburn, episode 473. That is one of my most favorite episodes on detoxing the home. And then there was another one about mold illness,
Oh,
like common like mold illness and sick building syndrome with Seth Jones, and that was episode 474.
I listened to that one too. I stopped. I listen. I love your podcast. It's so good. And then, Teresa, can you share with everyone your podcast?
Yes, my podcast is Becoming More Me. So that can be found on pretty much anywhere that you enjoy listening to podcasts.
Love it.
And how about you, Anna Marie? What's yours?
Yep, mine's called the Happy Whole You Podcast. And yeah, both of you have been on my podcast and shared such wonderful things. So
Yes.
everybody
Same. You can find both of these amazing ladies on my podcast too. For more of them. So, it's been so good being together with both of you. Really appreciate this this trifecta that we created today.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming on.